Good afternoon and welcome to this final presentation of the Accounting and Finance Show Hong Kong 2021 in the Accounting Tech Connect and Grow channel. I'll be handing over shortly to Janice Chu, who is Principal at JC Legal. Over the next 20 minutes or so, Janice will be speaking to you about how to recover your loss from cyber fraud. Before I pass you over to Janice, I'd just like to remind you that if you have any questions during the session, please do submit them into the live discussion area on your screen. So now, without further ado, I'd like to pass over to Janice to take it away.
Hi, thank you, Laura. Let me share my screen, yeah? So hi, my name is Janice Chu. I'm the principal of JC Legal. So today I'm going to share with you, it's about how to recover your loss from cyber fraud. Yeah. So I believe nowadays, a lot of people are working from home. So you might also see there are a lot of online fraud in the markets right now. So I think especially since last year, a lot of people are staying in. So today, our seminar will cover few examples of online fraud and what actions can you take if you fall victim to online fraud. So if you can't prevent, if this really happened to you, then what would be the actions that you need to take immediately to recover your losses, and also briefly tell you what would be the legal proceedings are involved, and then how can you prevent the cyber fraud. So you can see here, there is some examples on online fraud, yeah? So when we see finance@scamcompany.com and finance@scam0mpany.com. So if let's say you are not clicking into the email address, or even you did, sometimes you will actually miss because they might be using a very similar email address to scam. To conduct a scam. So you normally what you will receive is like, for instance, you receive a scammed email, like the first, you can see from the first example, "Dear Paul, please be informed that our company bank account has been changed to the following. Please make your settlement of November to the captions account." So if you did not click into the email address, you might not find out that actually the email address is a different email address, especially when you are waiting for an email for payment. Yeah. So normally what it will happen is someone asks you to change the new bank accounts. Normally what they do is they are actually trying their luck and see whether they can stop the payments from a genuine company and ask you to change the new bank account. And if you see on the right-hand side, there is also an example. So they will ask someone to do an immediate wire transfer. So apart from this, from this kind of examples on online fraud, you may also see sometime when you have your website online, and especially when you expose your email address in the website. So what the fraudster do is they will actually learn and study through the structure of your company, and they will try to send email to maybe your subordinate, yeah, and ask them something very irrelevant questions like what are you doing right now. So they just want to test the water and see whether they has the opportunities to do further. Yeah. So in the event your colleague actually replied the email and say that, "Oh, I'm doing this," yeah. So that means they have more opportunities to ask them to do an immediate wire transfer. Yeah. So this is one of the example that we can see in the market right now. So I believe if I want to show a lot of example on the scam, that I might need a lot of time because there are like different various of scam tactics nowadays. Yeah. Sometimes you can also see WhatsApp scam as well. So, okay. So right now we go into the next sections would be what actions can you take if let's say you have you have already tried to prevent the scam, but still you fall into the victims, unfortunately. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to act fast. Yeah, you might need to investigate the locations of the funds. So for instance, if let's say you are not located in Hong Kong, maybe you are located in Singapore, but they actually ask you to remit the funds to a company in Hong Kong. So you might need to find out where is the money going to, where is the money that you're remitting to. Okay, that's mean the first thing that you need to do is investigate the locations of the funds. That would be the first and foremost things you need to do, because from here you can prevent the onwards transfer of funds. That's why I always say that time is of the essence, because if you sit on it for another 1 or 2 days, they might be doing like few rounds of onward transfers already. It's really difficult for you to track the funds in the future. And then the third things that you might need to do is to recover the funds. So let me tell you step by step how you're going to do it in the next step. So the step one, when we talk about investigate the locations of the funds, that's mean the first things that you need to do is to look into the records and documentations. Yeah, you need to keep detailed financial documents received from the fraudster and include the details of the officer you liaise with. Yeah, that would be something that you need to do. Yeah. So from the financial documents that you, the beneficiary details, you can actually see where is the money going into which bank and where is the locations of the banks. Yeah, and also sometimes they will give you the company name. Yeah. And then you need to liaise with the IT experts to conduct investigations on how the fraud take place and examine forensic evidence. So I also understand that not every company will have an IT department in their company. So what you need to do that, I think you might need to engage your IT expert immediately and see what actually compromised, what system, IT system is compromised. And then you need to obtain information on the locations of the funds, the identity of the fraudster, and the amount of money being transferred fraudulently. So when we talk about the identity of the fraudster, of course, we are talking about the company entity or the names of the beneficiary that you remit the money to. That will be, the identity of the fraudster. I would say 80% of the beneficiaries that take the money might not be the fraudster. Yeah, they might be someone who helped the fraudster, or they are innocent party, or they know it, they are doing a favor for the fraudster. Yeah. And then I also see from my experience, I also see most of the companies, they are not active. They are not an active company for receiving the money. Yeah, maybe they have an entity, or maybe they have an entity with a bank account. That's why the fraudster is manipulate them or using this to collect the money. Yeah. And then the next thing you need to do is liaise with legal professionals to prepare evidence for court proceedings. So before we go to this steps, I believe a lot of people will also think about reporting to the police. Yes, you are right. Because after you obtain all the informations, you need to immediately report to the police. Okay? That would be something which is very urgent as well. Because when you do a court proceedings, you might need a police report and also all the evidence, including the email correspondences that actually record down what actually transpired, which make you remit the money to the fraudster account. Yeah. So this would be step one we are talking about. So in regard to step two, how to prevent the onwards transfer of funds. So what normally we would do is to issue a letter to the remitting and receiving banks, alerting them of the fraud and demanding returns of defrauded fund or preservations of the funds, or at least to freeze the account, just to alert them. But unfortunately, what I would say is that the bank might be passive in doing any actions. One of the reasons is because if, let's say, the account holder asking the bank to do a transfer of funds from their bank account, without evidence, it would be difficult for the bank on hold or freeze the account unless, okay, there is a letter issued by the Joint Financial Intelligence Unit, which is a JFIU, to the bank and saying that there is no consent letter. Okay, so that's mean reporting to the police force and the relevant authorities are very important in this case. Yeah, so I have clients before they actually remit amount from Malaysia to Hong Kong. So once they did this transfer, they realized it's a fraud. They immediately flew all the way from Malaysia to Hong Kong and they went to the bank. But unfortunately, the bank couldn't do anything. They actually asked my client to report to the police. At the same time, to engage a lawyer. Hopefully, you can commence a civil actions and get the money back. Yeah. So you can also see how to prevent onward transfer by initiating civil actions. So what we call is to apply for an injunction and disclosure order from the court. So in short, what is Mareva injunction order is actually a freezing order. So in some case, once you report to the police will immediately freeze the account. Then you do not need a Mareva injunction or freezing order in short. But you still have to engage a lawyer to liaise with the police to make sure that they are not going to defreeze the bank anytime soon. Because the police has the power to freeze the account, but the police doesn't have power to actually take the money out from the bank and give it to the victim. Okay, this is a different power. That's why no matter what, you still need to go to the court and apply for a garnishee to garnish the money out from the account to your bank account. Yeah. So let's come back to the Mareva injunctions. So if under certain circumstances the police fail to do a freezing order and leave the accounts active, I think one of the things that you need to do is try to apply for the freezing order as soon as possible. And the application generally is make ex parte. Ex parte means you are doing in one side without notice to the defendants. Okay, so the reason why ex parte is because we do not want to give prior notice to the defendant and then they can do an onward transfer immediately. So this kind of injunction, normally the court will give a special attentions and can be granted immediately. So once you file, normally how long it takes is if you can file in an application today, and if it's an ex parte, the court will try to give you a hearing date at the same time, at the same day, or the day after. So the other disclosure order, we call a novice pharmaco disclosure order. So sometimes, if let's say if it's unfortunate, the bank account, the funds in the bank account has been transferred out. What you need to do is that you need to go to the court and ask for a disclosure order and to make sure and to see, to determine where to track the funds, where's the funds going to. So if the funds is going from account A to account B, at least you will see the transactions and you can track or trace the funds. So this would be easier if we have this in order for us to recover the funds. So you can also see where what is a disclosure order, where a third party had become involved in an unlawful conduct. They were under a duty to assist the person suffering damage by giving them a full information and disclosing the identity of the wrongdoers. So when you call a third party here, the third party that we are referring is actually the bank. So information may be gained, the identity and the address of the wrongdoer, the bank statements, transaction records, and the instructions to the bank. These are all you can be gathered through this disclosure order. So these two orders you can apply at the same time. Yeah. So now we come to the last step, which we call a recovery. So you might find a lot of legal terms here, but doesn't matter. because I will explain in a layman term. So obtain a default charge. The route one is obtain a default judgment and apply for a garnishee order. And then route two is either options, or you obtain a default judgment and apply for a vesting order. So what we call a default judgment is that I would say 99% when this scam case happen, the company will not come out and defend the case. Yeah. So without coming out to defend the case, you can actually you can apply for a special applications through the court to apply for a default judgment. So with this judgment from the court, you can subsequently apply for a garnishee order. So what is garnishee order is to garnish the money from this fraudster account to your account based on the default judgment. That's what we call a garnishee order. So that's what we do here in garnishee. And the second one is, no matter which options you're going, you still need a default judgment. Yeah. So whether you are getting a vesting, because vesting is at the end is also recover the money from the fraudster account to your account if you are the victim. So I think this, we won't go into details. One of the reasons is because once you engage a lawyer, they will explain and they will see the circumstances, which route is the most applicable in your situations. So the last that we will gonna talk about is how to prevent cyber fraud. So as mentioned, prevention is better than cure. So one of I would say there is no way 100% that you can prevent cyber fraud, because it happens every day, every minute, every second. Yeah. So you need to be aware of the tactics to defraud the victims. If you want to do this, that means no matter how tedious it is, you still need to inform all the employees, all the members in the company about different tactics that the fraudster is trying to do. Yeah, because these come about training. So if you have a very you have a regular training on this cyber fraud, then this training will actually raise awareness to the members. So if there is awareness, then it's unlikely for them to fall into the trap. So always verify the payee identity. So like for our firm, we always have two routes to confirm the payee identity. So not just relying on email, we might also use another route, which is like WhatsApp or WeChat to confirm the identity. Yeah. So, and also make sure you have what we call is authentication, multi-level authentications for the apps that you're using, especially WhatsApp and WeChat. And of course, do not click on suspicious link provided in email and verify this link with the sender. Yeah. So whenever you see some link ask you to download certain documents, if the sender is unknown to you, please make sure you are not clicking into the link or downloading any files from the email. So as mentioned just now, educate your employees or the team member by conducting training sessions, and also deploy security measures. When I say security measures, of course, it's according to the company budget as well. But first of all, what you need to do is to practice multi-level authentications, as I mentioned just now. And if possible, if the budget allow, then you can also use virtual private networks, VPN, and devices with the latest security patches. Yeah. And then implement technology solutions to identify the suspicious email, and encrypt all sensitive company information. That would be something which is very important as well. So, and whenever there's unusual transfer amount for a particular business account or vendor, so make sure to prevent any unusual transfer amounts. You need to verify who and vendor. If there is an email asking for changing of bank account information, make sure you need to take extra care, or you need to handle with care on this. So for the payments to beneficiaries that are new or outside of where the business typically operates. So normally, how this cyber fraud will happen, it's more it will happen more on cross-border. So when you have a cross-border business transactions, because this will be easier for them to fraud and easier for them to scam. So when you have a payment that you need to remit on cross-border, you make sure that you are exercising extra care on this. So, and also if there are changes in established payment practice, the frequency and timing, that will be something very important as well. Any changing on the payment practice, you might need to raise a red flag. Normally, this kind of scam or cyber fraud, it happens very fast. They will either ask you to do an urgent transfer request, or they will ask you to make a very huge substantial payment because there is confidential and there will be a big accusations and you should not disclose to other parties. So because why this need to be done in a short periods of time is because they do not want that person to have a second thought or have time to think about it. Because once you are confused and you are nervous, then you make the wrong decisions. And then when there is a request for remittance to be sent to different banks, which is a different bank payment instructions, then you have to raise a red flag. So when their emails sent at unusual times of the day of the supposed country of origin. So this also you need to raise a red flag. So that's for my talk for today, sharings for today. So if you have any questions, please feel free to email or just text in the box, and you can also raise it out right now.
Brilliant. So we just had one question, which I think came in fairly early, Janice. So I think you did go about answering it later in the session. And they asked, can you share any advice on how businesses can identify when they have been a victim of cyber fraud as quickly, like how to do that as quickly as possible? I know you talked about some of the ways to kind of manage that risk, because as you say, it's not something you can prevent entirely. But is there anything that you can recommend specifically to pick up the instances?
Yeah, I think this is a very good question, because normally if you do not know that you are a victim, you pay and then maybe you will wait for 1 or 2 days and people are asking you, hey, I thought you were going to pay me right now, but why, you didn't pay to me. I would say it's difficult to find out unless some people or the company is waiting for your money and they say why you did not pay, But normally, when someone asks you to do a change of payment instructions, I have clients that actually realize it themselves. Because once they settle down and they realize something wrong with this transaction because it happened too fast, right? So they will go back and they click into the email, or they send an email, say, hey, the payment is done, and there's no reply. And they cause suspicious, and then they will try to see, and then they find out, hey, the email address is actually wrong. It's similar, but it's not exactly the same. I would say once you find out, then you need to act fast, because I do not have any tips yet to, to tell you how quickly you can find out that you have been a victim. Yeah. But so to find out, you need to be fast. That's all. Every minute it's fast. Yeah.
So really, if anything doesn't feel right, just go on your gut, investigate, and then pinpoint where the issue is and escalate it fairly quickly.
Yeah, because it's quite difficult for you to identify, because you don't even know that you make a mistake.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's a bit of a challenge, but brilliant. Thank you so much, Janice, for giving up your time this afternoon and joining us at the Hong Kong show again. I'm sure that our audience found the insights that you've shared really useful on such a critical topic. If you have any further questions for Janice, please do continue to post them in the live discussion box, or as she mentioned, you can reach out to her directly through email or through the virtual event platform. As this is the final session in this channel, we're coming to the end of the Accounting and Finance Show Hong Kong 2021. There is one more live panel session that's running concurrently with this one that will run till 5 p.m. on the topic of whether accounting firms need an office anymore. And if there are any sessions that you've missed over the last 2 days, everything should now be available as an on-demand recording. So you can watch back any of the sessions in your own time over the next month. And before you sign off, do make sure to pay a visit to the virtual exhibition booth and have a chat with our sponsors there. They'd be delighted to speak with you. So thank you once again, Janice, and we look forward to seeing you all back at another accounting and finance show very soon.